Right, we're going to talk about roof gables on this video, and specifically the bed and point style of finishing a roof off at the gables. Now I'm going to start off with a huge shout out to a fellow roofer here in New South Wales in Sydney, a company in Riverstone here, JSJ Roofing here in Riverstone, Sydney, New South Wales. And he put out a series of videos, and we're going to look at his bed and point video. Thomas Robinson. I must say it's an excellent video about how he would finish a bed and point on a gable. So if you want to know a little bit more about how he does his detailing and bedding and pointing at a gable, go to his channel and watch the video. Quite excellent and well done. Now, the thing with most of the things that we do in the roofing game always boils down to the 80-20 rule. And it is usually the last 20% that makes the 80% of the difference in how a roof repair will perform. Now, this particular story begins with a client sending us some pictures of a problem he's got with his gable. It's dripping water at the edge of a gutter, and we were asked to go and have a look to figure out how we would fix this. And this is an excellent example of the devil is in the details. Now, most problems are created by just lacking attention to the detail. And this is something that most of us are at fault with. We do most things right, but we kind of miss out on the minute details sometimes. And not paying attention to the finer details is what will catch us out a lot of the times. And in this particular instance, it was attention to detail that was causing the problem. Now, most roofers know how to install a Z flashing and bed and point a gable. And this is what this roofer did with this particular gable. A bed and point that was done quite well, but the little detail was causing the problem. Now, what was the problem? So this is what the problem was. There's a gable and bed and point. We got a Z flashing, fibro strip and bedding and pointing, and the devil is in the details. So what was happening in this instance? Water was traveling down the valley of the tile. It would hit the tile flashing, and the water will travel across and dribble down. So as a result, there was a lot of water dribbling off the corner of the roof. Now, there's a couple of things that you'll notice here is that the fascia is starting to rot at the top because this has been happening for a while. And when you have a timber fascia going through a wet and dry cycle, it will rot. So you got a rotting fascia, but that's not the main problem. What's happening is that the water's not ending up in the gutter the way it should be. So the water that comes down the Z flashing should go into the gutter. And in this case, it was going in the opposite direction and flowing outside the gutter. And we were trying to get this fixed. So without resorting to taking the whole gable apart, what we did was try cutting the fibro and the Z flashing short under the tile so that the water that comes off the tile doesn't go onto the flashing and roll outwards, and in fact goes into the gutter. But before we did that, we actually put a flashing over the rotten fascia so that the timber would not rot anymore and would preserve the end of the fascia. So we put a flashing over the rotten fascia, then we proceeded to try to stop the leak. So we thought we had it, but we had to do some testing. and the testing proved that our first effort wasn't good enough. So we had to go back and do some more repairs, as you can see on this second video. And it's amazing what a little bit of work with the snips and a little bit of fast flash, how effective that can be if you do it right. So on the second go, we got it right, and we also proved that it was working. So this was a successful repair to a problem created by a lack of attention to detail. So what is the lack of attention to detail with this particular instance? Well, most roofers don't do this, but the Z flashing should be modified where it goes into the gutter. So you get a situation where you've got, see how the water runs down there? It runs off the tile, it dribbles backwards, but it doesn't run onto the fascia. See how the water runs there? Right, so what's the detail? So what we have is, that's a fibro strip, and you bed the fibro strip on, but critical that the Z flashing doesn't extend back there. And if you take the fibro out, you see that what we've done is you turn the Z flashing down so the water runs down here. So if any water runs there, it will go into the gutter. Yes, it goes into the gutter there. Right. And you do the kink right where the fascia is. Now the fibro strip will terminate about there. Then you would bed that. This is what you end up with. That's bedded. If the detail here was the fascia extending past here and the gutter was shunted this way, then you don't get the water dribbling over the fascia and causing a problem. So the intent here is to have water that runs down the Z flashing, go straight into the gutter and not go anywhere else. So the story here is everything is in the details. Most of us get the bulk of things right, but we don't get the little bits, the bits that matter right. So while most of the time our substandard work is going to perform, there are times when we get caught out and it doesn't. And it's because we just don't pay enough attention to the details. And it's back to the 80-20 rule. The last 20% can make all the difference.